Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Fingers crossed I get a date because it's driving me insane. But no, I'm hoping to fight. I'm still ordered for the EBU title, so hopefully that's what gets made next. So yeah.
It would appear that Olympic amateur standout Karis Artingstall is waiting in the wings for a fight with Cheyenne Hanson for what's supposed to be the EBU title. Karis is taking a more gradual approach to her career than what we see from Sky Nicholson, current reigning WBC champion at this same weight. Karis is so choosing to take her time.
It's funny.
It's funny because Karis is actually a lot more aggressive than Sky Nicholson in the ring. In a fight, she's actually more aggressive, hits the gas more often, whereas Sky takes her time. In a fight, she's a thinking man's fighter, a pure boxer. So it's just funny that their personalities inside of the ring don't necessarily match their trajectory or frequency of fights.
Because you would have thought that Karis, being as aggressive as she is, fighting with that intensity, you would have thought that she'd be the one that hits the ground running.
Karis Artingstall, who's waiting in the wings for a fight with Germany's own veteran fighter Cheyenne Hanson. Cheyenne, who sports a professional record of 13 wins with 2 losses, no draws, 10 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 15 professional bouts. I've seen Cheyenne Hanson here and there, and she's strong, she's formidable, she's got something.
She's a serviceable fighter.
Having last seen action in May of last year, opposite the ring, Italy's own Angela Cannizaro, veteran journeywoman with an upside-down record.
They fought 2 times.
Once in March of 2022, then again last year in May. Cheyenne won a unanimous decision. That's the last time she saw action in that way. It's been about a year since Cheyenne had a fight. And Karis Artingstall is not the kind of fighter that you want to fight off of a year layoff, but that appears to be the situation. That appears to be what Karis is waiting for. This is supposed to be for the EBU title.
Karis beats her.
If they make the fight, I'd go with Karis Artingstall to beat Cheyenne Hanson on the premise that even though Cheyenne has a lot more pro experience, a lot more fights, and a lot more rounds in the bank,
she doesn't have as high a ceiling as Karis.
It's all in the subtleties, the little things, the form, the time it takes her to get out a shot, and the time it takes her to get the hand back to protect that side of her face. She may be strong, and she is strong, she has power, but she's not as sharp a puncher as Karis Artingstall.
It's a very slight difference in speed, but it's noticeable.
It's there, if you've seen them both.
That they haven't made it yet.
You think that maybe what the holdup is Cheyenne Hanson is dragging her feet? She doesn't really want this fight. It's less than ideal to fight somebody like Karis Artingstall when you haven't fought in a year. Ranked at number 1 is Denmark's own former IBF champion, Sarah Mahfoud. That if things don't work out with Cheyenne, Sarah's ranked at number 1. Nina Menke of Germany, she's ranked at number 2.
I could go for either of those fights.
Karis Artingstall versus a former world champion or a world title challenger. I could go for either of those fights. We'll see what's next for Karis while she waits for Cheyenne. Men's lightweight news. Ongoing confusion in association with the Davis versus Martin fight. Veteran boxing scribe Chris Mannix tweeted yesterday, WBA President Gilberto Mendoza confirmed that there would be a WBA-mandated rehydration clause in the Tank versus Frank Martin fight. In a message to Sports Illustrated Now, Mendoza said there would be a 12-pound rehydration limit that was quote-unquote based on recent events. Though Mendoza did not respond when asked if this was the WBA policy for all sanctioned fights or just this one, because if it's just for this one, then that's very bad optics.
Makes it seem like you're just restructuring the rules to accommodate Gervonta Davis and what his team might want.
Veteran boxing scribe Dan Raphael chimed in saying, I've been asked this a lot the past couple of days. Here's the answer. No, there is no rehydration clause for Davis versus Martin. The WBA is planning to follow the IBF by requiring fight morning weight checks. but this fight was already done and it won't be part of it. Possible future for the WBA title bouts.
Wait, so there is no rehydration clause?
Whether or not this is ethical or unethical, I think will all depend on who you ask, because there's a lot of quote-unquote weight bullying, as some would describe it. Fighters who cut a massive amount of weight to campaign in certain weight classes so that the night of the fight, once they're rehydrated, they have a noticeable weight advantage. A rehydration cap would remedy that to keep things on a more even keel. Some would look at it that way. Others would look at it as a means to handicap the fighters.
That by putting a cap on how much they can rehydrate, that weakens them.
It all depends on who you ask, though on the face of it, it very much looked like the WBA added, then removed, a rehydration clause from Gervonta Davis versus Frank Martin,
which created a lot of confusion.
Further compounding on that confusion are rumors that the fight is now canceled. The fight is now off. It's rumored that Frank Martin's team have refused to abide by Davis's rehydration clause. This is extremely disappointing because Davis is infamous for this clause, and if he's not happy at the weight division, he should move down. Rules are to be the same weight before the fight. There is nothing in the rule book to say that the fighters should weigh the same in the ring. Floyd Mayweather Jr., via his own social media, corroborated those rumors by posting a poster of the Gervonta Davis versus Frank Martin fight with a canceled stamp over it, saying, "This is sad. Hopefully, this is just a rumor."
My thoughts.
When it comes to the whole rehydration cap, and just weight stipulations in association with Gervonta Davis's fights, irrespective of what bylaws the WBA wants to change moving forward, it's well known by now that Davis has used weight stipulations in the past. He used one on Mario Barrios, he used one more famously on Ryan Garcia, and it does seem like a means for Gervonta Davis to handicap his opponents, weaken them, so they're easier to beat, so they're easier to knock out. This latest situation involving Frank Martin seems to be more about the WBA and how they wish to proceed moving forward.
It's not necessarily Gervonta Davis's fault.
But the WBA has had a somewhat unethical relationship with Gervonta Davis for years now, dating back to his days as a super featherweight. I remember when he was down there. I remember that Puerto Rico's own Alberto Machado beat Jezreel Corrales for what was the WBA super title, the full version of the title that you would need for a unification match. I remember that Alberto won that fight and knocked out Jezreel, and I remember that 9 months later, the WBA, out of thin air, manufactured a title to give to Gervonta.
That was for the Jesus Cuellar fight.
They essentially demoted Alberto Machado to being regular champion, and it was Gervonta in possession of the full version of the title. That's quite unethical, wouldn't you say? That if Gervonta wanted the full version of the title, why not just fight Alberto Machado? Why do they have to manufacture one for you? I remember when he moved up to 135 pounds. Out of thin air, they manufactured another title, a regular title.
For the Gamboa fight.
At that time, Vasyl Lomachenko was the full WBA champion in possession of the full version of the title.
If Gervonta or his team wanted him to be a WBA champion so bad, why don't you just fight Vasyl Lomachenko and take his belt from him? Why do you have to have the WBA manufacture a title for you and for the second time?
These previous instances accent the unethical relationship and partial behavior that the WBA has had with this fighter. So when this latest situation arises, it seems to suggest the same thing, that behind the scenes you guys are pulling strings to accommodate a fighter you're constantly accommodating.
You gonna rub his feet too?
Rub his back? Give him a massage? Because it seems like you guys are always going out of your way to accommodate this guy. That's how it looks.
And what about the fight being canceled?
I don't know. That's something that Floyd Mayweather suggested. That's something that Floyd Mayweather posted on his social media. I think that would be catastrophic for Gervonta Davis if that rumor turns out to be true, that you can't get a Frank Martin fight over the line. That would effectively paint him into a corner.
How so?
If the PBC is on such shaky ground, so much so that they're struggling to make an in-house fight with two of their in-house fighters,
how does Gervonta proceed? Does he jump ship like so many fighters have already? Does he leave the island?
Questions that would need answers in that scenario, though we're not there yet. I mean, I don't know if by the time this video is uploaded, it will be confirmed that the fight is off, that the fight is canceled, because it doesn't just affect him, it affects David Benavidez too.
He's fighting on the undercard.
We'll see if that rumor holds any water, and if it does, we'll address it then.
Because that would be catastrophic.
Frank's already had this with the low blow. There's always a problem with them, isn't there? Always, Frank. There's always an issue. They're screamers, they're booers. A load of rubbish. Let's just get it on. They will moan about anything.
1 minute everyone's complaining that Tyson's lost a lot of weight and it's looking for speed. If he has a thick canvas, it's going to slow him down. I don't know where that comes from.
That is addressing the potential tripping hazard we talked about yesterday here on the channel, that Team Usyk wanted to make sure that things are on the up and up and there are no slip and fall hazards in the ring in association with the canvas. It's all much ado about nothing.
That's rich coming from them.
That Team Usyk always have a problem. That Team Usyk are always moaning and complaining.
Years ago, it was Tyson Fury complaining ahead of the Klitschko fight, complaining about the canvas and what was extra padding.
I just think it's karma. That's how it looks, that Tyson Fury, after all these years, is now getting a taste of his own medicine, and nobody likes their own medicine. Frank Warren...
You're saying Team Usyk complained too much.
Team Usyk have never had a problem making a fight in the past. They never had any issues, any stumbling blocks, or any obstacles making any fight anywhere in previous instances. This is the same Ukrainian that went into Russia to fight a Russian fighter.
You see the context, that Russia and Ukraine have long had a strained relationship, and that didn't stop Usyk from going into Russia to get what he wanted.
I've been watching Usyk for years, and this was one of the easier guys to make a fight with because there are no prima donna antics. There's no princess behavior, no big egos. Every other fight,
Besides this one.
negotiations go smoothly. They usually go smoothly for Usyk, save the Tyson Fury fight, because it was Tyson Fury doing all the complaining. You had to twist this guy's arm to get to this point, the point where we are now.
It took over a year.
Remember, initially, talks for the fight, to do it in Saudi, they collapsed. So they decided they're going to try to do it in the UK. And the whole time they're trying to do it in the UK, Tyson Fury's making things as difficult as possible, trying to restructure the terms, the existing terms.
I didn't forget how much time was lost on that.
I didn't forget that what Tyson wanted was for Usyk to get a 70-30 split, 70-30.
No rematch clause.
Where initially it was agreed upon that there would be a bilateral rematch clause for Fury, rematch clause for Usyk. Out of the clear blue sky, Fury gets it in his head, he don't want no rematch clause for the fight, stifling negotiations, dragging them out.
I didn't forget that this fight was originally supposed to happen late last year.
I didn't forget that because Tyson Fury looked as bad as he looked with Francis Ngannou, they moved the fight. They moved the fight from late last year to early this one.
I didn't forget.
I didn't forget that this fight was supposed to have happened 2 times already. 2 times. Late last year and early this one. But early this one, Tyson Fury, quite conveniently, suffers a cut over his eye that gets the fight pushed back.
I still think he did it on purpose.
When I look at how fit and trim he is, I just get the sense that he did it on purpose because he needed more time to lose more weight. That's what I think.
Among other things.
After they had to twist this guy's fucking arm to finally fight Usyk, you guys have got the balls. You guys have got the bottle to call Team Usyk a bunch of moaners. Team Usyk a bunch of complainers. Do me a favor.
A lot was made of yesterday's face-off, rather non-face-off.
Because Fury wouldn't face him. He wouldn't face Usyk. He wouldn't turn around to look at him in the eyes. Kind of like how Errol Spence Jr. didn't want to turn around to look at Terrence Crawford in the eyes. Summer of last year. This harkened back to that. And already, the Fury apologists, the Fury fans, are calling it mind games.
How, pray tell?
What game is Tyson Fury playing with Alexander Usyk's mind by avoiding his gaze? That doesn't communicate strength or confidence.
Neither does the long road it took to get us here.
I had one guy tell me that I obviously don't know psychology. All the psych mages are coming out to defend Tyson Fury.
It's all right.
I'm not trying to convince you. You can pick who you like. All I can tell you is what I think. And if you want to know what I think, and you're here, so I'll assume that you do, Tyson Fury never fancied this fight, he never wanted this thing, and he said as much himself. My guess is he's only doing it because they're offering him a fortune.
One of the few instances where I think Tyson Fury was telling the truth was several months ago when he said that undisputed is not a priority for him. He doesn't care about belts, and that was always someone else's dream. I actually think he was telling the truth, for all the ways that his supporters try to talk him up.
Placing him alongside legendary names and legendary fighters like Muhammad Ali or Joe Louis, Lennox Lewis, as much as they like to do that,
He won't stand for ceremony. He's not here for legacy.
he's here because after he suffered that mysterious cut to his eye earlier this year, they put a $10 million penalty should he withdraw. He's here because of the optics. There are no more alternatives and no more extended stays on Easy Street. No more novice boxers. No more MMA fighters to fight. No more good buddies, good old buddies like Derek Chisora you can keep busy with. He's here because he's painted into a corner, and you can see that he doesn't like it.
What, he avoided Alexander Usyk's gaze to intimidate him?
Like Spence avoided Terrence Crawford's gaze to intimidate him. Is that what you're telling me?
Is that it?
So by the time that this video is uploaded, or a few hours after that, maybe Tyson Fury might find his stones and find his balls to be able to look at this guy in the eyes and show him that he means business.
Maybe.
But for me, the damage is already done, and I'm already settled. I've been settled on who I think wins this fight. I think Usyk wins this fight. I think Fury knows Usyk wins this fight.
And if I'm wrong, prove me wrong.
Because that's what we're all here to see anyway.
Isn't it?